Hello, everyone. Welcome to our continuing webinar series, Embracing the New Normal. I'm Major Todd Hamilton, Deputy Commander of the Mid-Atlantic Army Recruiting Battalion, and we're coming to you live from beautiful and, well, right now, soggy Lakehurst, New Jersey. We thank you for inviting us into your homes or wherever you are as we continue to work through this global pandemic. For those who don't know, our webinar series focuses on various topics discussing opportunities available to those considering joining the Army. However, today, there's a lot that can be learned by currently serving soldiers as well, with the topic we have. Today we'll be discussing the Army's Credentialing Opportunities Program, also known as COOL, licenses and certifications that are available to soldiers, and information on how you can apply for these programs and have the Army pay for it. Today, we have a panel of soldiers who will talk about the professional credentials they've earned while in the Army and how it will benefit them when they transition back to civilian life after the Army. We will hold a question and answer session at the end of the panelist discussion. Throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat and we will talk about them all at once at the end. For our panelists, today we have with us Staff Sergeant Craig McInnes from Fort Dix, New Jersey, Sergeant First Class Shauna Curry from Fort Gordon, Georgia, and Staff Sergeant Ryan Cotto from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. But first, I would like to introduce you to the person who makes sure that this program runs smoothly and effectively for the entire Army. Ms. Sophia Sweeney is the Credentialing Assistance Program Manager and Army Credentialing Opportunities Online Program Manager with Army University at Fort Knox, Kentucky. She's a retired Military Police Corps First Sergeant and served in various assignments around the world as both a soldier and Army civilian, including deployments to Afghanistan and Haiti. She is with us today to talk about the COOL program and the opportunities for current and future soldiers. With that, good morning, Ms. Sweeney, and welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate the invite to come here today. So I'll go ahead and share my screen real quick so we can get started. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. All right, so again, thank you so much for the welcome. I am the Credentialing Assistance Program Manager for the Army, as well as Army COOL for the Army. So we'll go ahead and get started. Stand by. Oh, sorry, technical difficulty. All right, so what is the Credentialing Assistance Program? So for anyone that knows about the Army's Tuition Assistance Program, this is very similar to that, whereas voluntary off-duty type of funding for training or for, tuition assistance is for academic degrees. So if you want to get your associates, your bachelor's or master's, that is actually what you would request funding for through tuition assistance. So CA, or credentialing assistance, is very similar to where you can request funds to pursue voluntary credentials that are listed in Army COOL. So we'll go over a little bit of all of that. CA is actually a program that contributes to improving total Army readiness. It supports soldiers' professional development. And it is a retention program. So much like a lot of our transition programs, this is actually, it will help you both while in the military as well as out of the military. So currently, soldiers are requesting credentialing assistance through GoArmyEd. That's the current portal. And it is a manual process right now, but we are almost ready to open up credentialing assistance through Army Ignited. That is the new system that's going live in August of this year. So soldiers will now request funding for credentials through Army Ignited. And so we talked about Army COOL, but what I want to make sure y'all understand is that the Army Credentialing Assistance is the program where you would request funding for specific credentials. Army COOL is actually the repository for all the credentials that soldiers can pursue. So every credential that is listed in Army COOL is aligned to a soldier's military occupational specialty, their MOS or their AOC, or area of concentration. So they are all in some way, shape, or form aligned to one of those. Now, currently, DOL, the Department of Labor, has over 11,000, but in Army COOL, we have over 1,600 that actually align to an MOS or AOC. So who's eligible for credentialing assistance? Well, that's pretty much everybody in the Army, regular Army soldiers or active duty soldiers, Army National Guard, United States Reserves or Army Reserves, it's open to all officers, warrant officers, non-commissioned officers, and enlisted, right? And so all soldiers receive up to $4,000 per fiscal year to use towards either tuition assistance to pursue your academic degree or through credentialing assistance to pursue credentials or licenses, right? So you got $4,000, you could use it either way. And currently CA pays for training, books, fees, materials, the actual exam itself, and even recertification. Okay, so it pays for all of that stuff, where tuition assistance will fund the degree. It will not pay for the books or fees and so forth. So this is a great opportunity. Again, just like I said, anything that is within Army Cool can be requested by soldiers. Funding can be requested for those credentials. There are over 1,600 of them in Army Cool. So I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of credentialing. So soldiers, they receive industry and nationally recognized credentials. It actually shows, it provides a clear and objective picture of the competence of a soldier. It actually develops soldiers in specific areas throughout their career. It enhances their MOS proficiency. And it also prepares them for the outside world, right? In the civilian workforce, this is definitely something that can move from the Army right into the civilian workforce. And so just a little stat from DOL, or Department of Labor, in 2020, this year, April and May, you can see that the management, professional, and related occupations unemployment rate was the lowest, right? So I just wanted to show you that, because some of these credentials that you can actually pursue will help you get into those type of positions, or at least give you an edge up on that type of career field. All right, go ahead and move on. So this is Army Cool, and this is a public page, so anybody can go and look at it. There's no requirements to have any type of password or anything. You can go there and check it out. But up top, you can see the top red arrow that points to the enlisted MOS, warrant officer MOS, officer AOCs, and the ASIs. So if you clicked on any one of those, you can see what is related to a specific military occupational specialty. So if you wanted to know, if you were an MP, for example, if you wanted to know what credentials align with an MP's position or job, you can find it right there. You just click on it, and it'll take you to a list of credentials that are aligned just to that specific MOS. So if you were wanting to pursue a specific credential, you could, and maybe you wanted to do something within your own MOS, you can totally find it there. If you didn't want to pursue something within your specific MOS or AOC, the great thing about Army, the Credentialing Assistance Program itself, is it does not have to be aligned to your MOS. So if you're an MP, but you really want to do some EMT stuff, you can totally do it, and the Army will pay for that. I put another arrow down where it says full credential search. So if you're looking for something in specific, I just want to know what a plumber does, or I want to know what credentials, someone in the IT world does. You can click on that. You have an idea, you can select it, and it'll take you to those pages. I also listed the link down here for Army Cool. So the other tab that you would see is the Credentialing Assistance tab. And right there, if you wanted information about the program itself, everything is laid out right there on that specific page. It's dedicated just to credentialing assistance, okay? We also have the policy. I've also provided step-by-step instructions on this page. You can see the job families from the Department of Labor, those brochures that you can pull down, but everything you need to know about credentialing assistance is right there. Okay, let me move on. And when you do click on a specific, in Army Cool, and you're looking for something specific, pay attention to those chili peppers, right? Those are aligned with Department of Labor, right? And these are in-demand type of credentials right now in the outside world, right? Or in the civilian world. I say outside, but I mean the civilian world. And the same thing if you're a soldier and you're wanting to pursue something, there are many credentials that are listed in there that would give you promotion points, okay? So there's a lot of different symbols that are in here, and you can find all of that information in Army Cool, and what they mean, they'll be in Army Cool. I just wanted to show you the top 10 credentials that soldiers are pursuing right now. As of today, our number one is the private pilot. So if you want to be a pilot, you know, you want to do some stuff on the side, or maybe you're enhancing you are a pilot in the Army and you need some additional skills that aren't necessarily required for the position you're in, but would enhance your MOS or AOC. You can, that's what people are doing right now. PMP, obviously that is a huge one right now, and it's an in-demand. I put chili peppers next to all of the in-demand credentials currently in the civilian workforce. And you can see this is across the board. We've been doing this it went Army-wide January of this year, but we did a pilot prior to this in 2019, and the top 10 are very, very similar, almost the same. So, you know, you can set yourself apart from your peers and others seeking the same position you are by doing something like this. So if you are transitioning out of the military, or if you are in the military, you know, there's some things that are going to change. Promotion points are going to change. A lot of it, you know, is going to be aligned to these credentials. So just, you know, think about these and pursuing this type of thing. This is our new system that we're about to go live with in August. It's called Army Ignited. Soon, all soldiers will receive a message about Army Ignited and, you know, what it's about. It's going to eventually replace Go Army Ed. So, you know, soldiers, well, when it goes live in August, everything for credentialing, any type of credential request will go through this system. So again, Army Cool is the repository. It's not actually the program that you would request funding through. It is Army Ignited that will be hosting all of the credentialing assistance information. And so here's just some links if you have questions regarding the Credentialing Assistance Program, or even if you have questions about Army Cool, please feel free to email us there. You can see the list of credentials on Army Cool's link right there. And then Army Ignited, again, soldiers will receive information soon about how to log into Army Ignited and how to start requesting credentialing assistance. That'll be in August. So I know that the questions will be at the end, but I just want to put up the link again, just in case you wanted to ask some questions about credentialing assistance. Thank you, sir. Back to you.
Oh, that's awesome, Sophia. Thank you. And you know, it's amazing the opportunities the Army has for its soldiers to prepare them for success, like you mentioned, after the Army. I mean, years ago, I paid out of pocket for my PMP certification. I think it ran me upwards of over $1,100, you know, for the boot camp, the training materials, to take the test, which I may have had to take twice, but we won't talk about that. But that's the thing. So, and it's great. I mean, you know, now several years later, there are these opportunities that are here for soldiers to get themselves set up when they go out, you know, when they transition back to the Army, either retirement or, you know, just after they do a term of service. And it's amazing just to see how far I mean, I've been in for a long time, but just to see how far it's come over the years, which is huge. So no, thank you so much for that. And we really appreciate the Army, you know, working for that. I mean, they talk about soldier for life. This is it. This really is it. I mean, it's the opportunities that go and look out for us even afterwards. So no,
yeah,
thanks.
absolutely.
So again, excuse me. So again, if you have questions for Ms. Sweeney, please enter them in the Q&A, and we'll talk about those at the end. All right. So moving on to our panelists. Our first panelist today, Staff Sergeant Craig McGinnis, native of Detroit, Michigan. Staff Sergeant McGinnis has been in the Army for 14 years and currently serves as a geospatial intelligence analyst and instructor at Fort Dix, New Jersey. He served in a variety of assignments and locations around the world to include Germany, Alaska, Arizona, Afghanistan, New Jersey, wonderful New Jersey, and exercises in many other countries. He also has the distinction of being one of the Army's first digital intelligence systems master gunners. With that, good morning, Sergeant McGinnis. Over to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Doing fantastic.
Yeah. So, Ms. Sweeney was talking about credentials and all that stuff. A lot of my credentialing has kind of fallen in line with my MOS, and I was in a unique position when I joined the military. I was a 14 Echo, which was a Patriot missile guy. So my whole job was just to shoot missiles at stuff and blow them up. It was great. And but there's no future in that. So after my first term of service, which was my Germany assignment, I started looking at some of the different ways that I could use the Army to benefit me outside once I get out. Because Army's not forever. Everybody's got to retire at some point. And so I fell fell in line eventually via the 35 Hotel CGS Operator School, which doesn't exist anymore, to becoming a 35 Golf, the geospatial analyst, and it's amazing. The job is incredible. I get to work with space and satellites and stuff all the time, but more importantly, it drove me to a lot of credentials that are gonna help me out afterwards. So because I love the job so much, and I love looking at the imagery side of things, and I love the science behind it, a lot of the credentials and stuff that I just like that you get naturally as you progress through the Army and that MOS are going to transfer directly into a really great civilian career for me, whether it be contracting or as a government civilian or whatever. And so that really started, my first duty assignment as 35 Golf was in Alaska. And the credentialing process didn't really start there, but I was still really young, kind of in the Army, so I didn't really get it. But when I left Alaska, I went to Arizona and became an instructor. And that opened up a ton of doors for me. So I ended up using the tuition assistance to get knock out my general education for schooling, and then on top of the general education, just all the extra education that I got from being an instructor eventually led me to get an associate's degree in education, which was outstanding. But it also allowed me to take some of the intelligence community certifications that are required to get a lot of the jobs in the intelligence community. Well, I guess, and on top of the security clearance, that doesn't help or hurt either. But so the GeoInt professional certification fundamentals was taken. I took that at the schoolhouse in Arizona when I was an instructor there, and that's a requirement now if you're going to work at any three-letter agency that deals with imagery analysis at all. The primary one being the National Geospatial Agency, which is the original proctor for the GeoInt professional certification program. So I took the fundamentals there, which that's the first one that you have to take. And after that, it opens up, there's a bevy. There's like eight other certifications that you can get on top of that after that. And they all kind of tailor and fit to what you need. So the first one after I took the fundamentals that I got was the imagery analysis GPC or certification. And that fell directly in line with being a 35 Golf in the Army. I didn't even have to study for that test. It was just everything that I had learned from being a 35 Golf was on that test, and I got a certification out of it. And then later on, I ended up going to the GeoInt, or taking the GeoInt collection GPC as well. So just from being a 35 Golf in that aspect and leading to the outside of the Army when I eventually get out of the Army, I've set myself up with 3 different GeoInt professional certifications that'll make me competitive, and a degree, which makes me competitive in the civilian world. So that was a pretty outstanding experience. And then plus just being an instructor and getting that experience as well. After that, I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and the opportunities were endless there. So once again, on credentialing and certification, while I was at Fort Dix is when I became a digital intelligence system master gunner. And some of the paths that led me down. So that course itself really helped me out in my Army career. And allowed me to get a lot of the connections outside of the Army, especially with companies like BAE and Raytheon. A lot of those people came and guest spoke at our Intelligence Master Gunner course. But that course led me down other paths, and I'm not going to get too much into those other paths because I think Sergeant Curry and Sergeant Kodo are going to talk a little bit about that, but that kind of got into the Security Plus stuff and a little bit more of the architecture piece of how the internet works and stuff like that. So that leads into that kind of path. But then there was the Space Cadre course, which once again is another certification that it makes you competitive when you get out. So with the GeoInt professional certifications, the degree in education, and then the Space Cadre course right there, the Army for me has become more than the Army. It didn't just set me up for success in the Army, which it did, but now when I get out, I know that I'll be not only competitive in the market, but I'll have 12 years of experience doing the job, and I'll have all the certifications on top of that, which is outstanding. So it's been an incredible journey, and yeah, that's about all I got, sir.
There we go. Little button issues. No, and that's awesome. And that's absolutely fantastic. And I appreciate that, Son McGinnis. I mean, again, the variety of what's available out there, not always just tied to your MOS, but also other positions you find yourself in. So, you might be a geospatial analyst by trade, but then, oh, hey, I found myself in this unique position working with this. Oh, what certifications come along with this while I'm here? And that's it. And that's the same with any Army assignment that you can get, depending on where you go. You could be an infantry soldier and be in a position where you're a budget analyst and get budget analyst certified. Get your Lean Six Sigma black belt. I mean, so many things that you can do. It's crazy. No, but as everyone heard, a large and varied sampling of opportunities available through the program that you can pick up that will help you benefit. And you heard Sergeant McGinnis talk about the things that are going to help him when he transitions out and he moves on if he decides to stay in his sector and work for the government. And things are going to help him. So again, I appreciate it, Sergeant McGinnis. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're up there, up in. Is it sunny up there in Massachusetts, or is?
It's sunny right now, but actually the weather that is hitting Jersey is moving its way up. So I think this afternoon it's going to get pretty nasty. There's that tropical storm that hit the East Coast, and it's just creeping up here. So I got like another hour of sun, and then it kind of works out because that's about when I have to get into the skiff anyways. So I get to enjoy the hour of nice day, and then it's back to the dungeon. So.
Yeah, you can have it because it's pretty soggy down here right now. So, all right, again, appreciate it. If anybody has any questions for Staff Sergeant McGinnis, please enter them in the Q&A, and we'll talk about those at the end. All right, so our next panelist is Sergeant First Class Shauna Curry, originally from Pismo Beach, California, which, if you've never been there, by the way, is an absolutely great place. Sergeant First Class Curry has been in the Army for 19 years, currently serves as a Signal Support System Specialist and Senior Instructor at the Signal Non-Commissioned Officer Academy at Fort Gordon, Georgia. She served in a variety of signal and communication assignments throughout the world, including 4 deployments to Iraq, has me beat. Today, she will talk to you about some highly sought-after credentials she's been able to obtain through the Army and how they will impact her future career when she moves on. So good morning and welcome, Sergeant Curry.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for that awesome introduction. First, I want to thank Captain Smith and the Mid-Atlantic Recruiting Battalion for inviting me to speak at this webinar. As Major Hamilton said, I've got 19 years of service. I'm currently here at the home of Cyber and Signal, Fort Gordon, Georgia. So 25 uniforms, Signal Support System Specialist. We kind of deal with a lot of different things from radios to tactical satellite radios, all the way up to tactical internet. And part of the thing that we have to do is have certain credentials in order for us to operate on our networks and help keep our networks secure. And that's a very important job for the Army because that signal and cyber is how our commanders make decisions on the battlefield. And so over the course of my time in the Army, I used my tuition assistance to go to college. And one of the opportunities I was afforded at this college was to take the A+ certification exam, which is an industry level certification for IT professional to work on the hardware and operating systems computers. With that certification, I was able to obtain elevated privileges on the network and be able to do my part to help keep our networks secure and running. Additionally, Security Plus, which is number 2 on the list that Mrs. Sweeney put up, the Security Plus exam is another certification that I've obtained through the Army through a program called Cyber Vista. This program was offered by the Signal School here at Fort Gordon. I went through the training and I was able to get the certification once I completed the training. And these certifications, as long as you keep them updated, doing continuing education, when I get out of the Army or when my time is done, which I'm not tired yet, then I'll be able to translate that along with my military service and experience into a civilian job outside of the Army. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope everyone is staying dry and staying safe.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Curry. Again, and she hit right on the top of it. I mean, we've been in the digital age for decades. Her skills and credentials, what she's been able to achieve and obtain through the Army shows the mark of a professional who can operate in any environment, military, civilian, wherever, whatever organization, and make sure that they're constantly staying connected with the rest of the world. She talked about Security Plus. A lot of network, a lot of communications positions require that. I mean, just even here within the Mid-Atlantic Battalion, we recently had a government civilian position, and that was the #1 requirement at the very top was Security Plus. Do you have Security Plus? And not having Security Plus took out over half of my applicants. So again, so she's setting herself up for future success. It's great, and it's so amazing that the Army is able to provide that opportunity for her to set her up in later life. So that's cool. Really appreciate it, Sergeant Curry. Thank you very much. Again, if you have questions for Sergeant Curry, please enter them in the Q&A, and we'll talk about those at the end. All right, so moving on. Our third and final panelist is Staff Sergeant Ryan Cotto. Born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, right here, right around the corner. Sergeant Cotto has been in the Army for 20 years and currently serves as a visual information equipment operator maintainer. Throughout his career, he has been fortunate to travel to over 40 countries, served in multiple international assignments, and had the privilege of working in support of 2 U.S. presidents while assigned to the White House Communications Agency. With that, good morning, Sergeant Cotto, and welcome.
I'm here, sir. It's just they're waiting to turn on the camera.
Okay. Come on, you're the visual guy. Come on.
Oh, it says the co-host has to do it. That's all.
Okay. Hey, Mike, can you hit his camera, please?
Yes, I promoted him to a co-host. He should be able to do it.
You'll see the change in pay by the end of the day, I promise.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
There you go. Okay, yes, sir. So my name is Sergeant Cotto. I'm one of the older people that you might run into in the Army. It's kind of like a typical thing to run into. We're all different ages. We're all from different places. So for me, I'm a 25 Romeo. It's a very unique MOS. There's not that many of us. It's less than 1% of the Army. So extremely competitive. Like the leadership has said, I've traveled a lot. And with that, I've had to learn different things from my job. I've had to go through different training. So like my short title in the civilian world would be television engineer, which basically means my job would be the guys that work with, like producing videos or movies that most of us enjoy. So in a movie scenario, we would be working behind the cameras. My job would be fixing cameras or fixing lighting. For a TV show, it would mean like running cameras, production, editing. That's kind of how that's went. That's how my career started. I started at Fort Knox, and I used to be a Fort Knox television. It's not there, but I mean, it's still there, but it's not military. That's where I learned, combat camera stuff, which is 25 Victor. That's where I have an art background, so I heavily use that there, which is just basically a digital illustrator. So some of the graphics you see, if you watch the news, if you see any kind of video where it's like a documentary, stuff that shows up on the screen, credits in a movie, all that stuff gets made. For me, it was more maintenance and small team tactics. So we would record like tankers and stuff, and we forward observers and cab scouts there. Like that's at the time that I was at Fort Knox, those are like the bulk of our customers, along with traveling around and doing things at like JRTC, which is the Joint Readiness Training Center, where you have to like send units and people either work with other foreign countries or just work with other units because their sole mission is separate. Like an infantry with a signal unit don't typically work together on a day-to-day basis, but they would go there to do that. So I've done missions like that. Like the leadership had said, my biggest one is the presidents. I've worked with 2 U.S. presidents. That's for my career field. That is the highest level echelon that I can get to. It involved me getting a higher security clearance, like the NCOs have said prior, that I've had to maintain. It also involved being a better candidate, like we're all alluding to, when you're going for these kind of positions, because these positions are indicative on your competition between another soldier. So even though we're all together, there are positions that you do have to like make yourself a better candidate for. One of those things that kind of helped me out was I was an international soldier already. I served in NATO. I had a certification tied to my job called Certified Television Operator, which is basically giving me permission to run a television tower. So like if you're driving around, you might see it. It might look like a cell tower, but it's not, because that's how people get their cable at home. It is sent through the air. So I would be one of those guys there, and I can maintain the studios at the base of that tower or the control. And then I've had tactical things where I'm also not tied to my job, where I've gotten taser certified because I used to be a escort for high profile cases within the Army. So like, you know, like you alluded to, sir, the whole thing that there are positions that kind of open up where you get weird certifications that you kind of are recommended to have. I had to have that to have a non-lethal, thing in my pocket to say I was going to be the NCOIC of a small mission unit that was directed in mission to take care of a certain individual. So, and then the 2 U.S. presidents thing is just a worldwide mission. Like, there's a small field. My field was called Visual Information Command inside White House Communications Agency, and we are the guys that run anything and everything that you see on TV, on digital, on analog, at all. So all that stuff that you see is prepped. My guys that are similar to my MOS would do that, and you have to be able to do that worldwide. So it doesn't matter if you're in New York City, doing it in, Madison Square Garden, like that's the waves of that job, or you could be in the middle of, Djibouti, and you have to try your best to do the same thing. That is a very huge thing to learn. That being at WACA was one of the most heavy experiences I've ever had to be a part of because of that. Like the mission was constant. It was always pressing. Our number one is the number one. Like, I did have to deal with that on a daily basis, which means, you got to dot your I's, you got to cross your T's every single day. And it doesn't matter to me, like, if we were all on a team, I have to do it with them. So other ones I have because of that job were like, I have Lean Sigma 6, which is more like a improvisational model where it's all improving, whether it's like a business or yourself or a team. I am green belt, black belt, and master black belt certified. Also, weird things have happened, like because I was part of that special missions unit, I had to be combative certified, at least to level 2. That's another one. And the fact that I have weird certifications just to bolster a resume when I choose to leave the Army will make me a better candidate as a whole. So hopefully that'll give me enough skills and enough things like added together, along with things like education, because having all that stuff help feed into an associate's degree. And I'm dual certified with that, where I have an associate's and a certification for social media marketing, because just from, doing this for so long and doing my best to take advantages of things, sir.
There we go. Again, sticky buttons. Okay, no. All right, appreciate it, Sankoto. And that's huge, and you're spot on. I mean, so many opportunities available throughout the Army that you can get just by nature of where you are. And I appreciate you. Thank you for calling me weird, because I had some of those too. Some of those different opportunities where you go places like, oh, you need to get certified how to drive like a certain way. I don't know if that's a professional credential I'll carry out, but it helps, especially in California and Jersey traffic. But that's okay. All right. So, I mean, again, opportunities that are available for soldiers and for future soldiers, applicants, anybody who chooses to come out, they can help you. I mean, go through it, help you in your career in the military, help you in your career when you get out, your future success. So, again, I would say thank you to all of our panelists today. A lot of good information. Really appreciate you taking the time out to share your stories with us. And now we'll go ahead and we'll jump over to our Q&A. So, Mike, what do we have?
So there were some questions that came up regarding the COOL program, but throughout, Ms. Sweeney has been answering. I think the website, we put the link there in the chat feature. So if you want to check out the COOL website, there was also questions about some additional service obligation using the program, which Ms. Sweeney did address. Trying to see if there's anything. She did state that Ignited program is available after 17 August. To use COOL right now, you're going to use the Go Army Ed process that we've done in the past. So really, a lot of these questions have been answered. If anyone has any last minute questions, you're more than welcome to type them in. Otherwise, like I put in the chat here, this video will be posted to our battalion YouTube, and I'll share out the link once it's uploaded there so anyone can watch it for future reference.
No, and again, so if anyone has any questions regarding anything that you heard today, any of the MOS skills that were talked about, any of the maybe the special assignments that might have been mentioned, again, any of the credentialing opportunities, the professional certifications, licenses that that Mike was just talking about, again, please pop your questions in, and we'll go through and we'll see if we can get those answered. We were really fortunate again today to have Ms. Sweeney and have our panelists today, because they represented some very in demand credentials that are there that are huge in the civilian world. And Ms. Sweeney, I mean, just managing the program, I mean, your be all end all source of knowledge there for this. So, we have anything else new coming in, Mike?
Not yet, sir. So we can give it a few more seconds and then wrap it up. Or if any of the attendees, if any of you have any last minute, or panelists have any last minute comments or anything else of interest, you're welcome to chime in.
Yes, please. If anybody has anything or anything they would like to add, or maybe something that came out in somebody else's talk.
I guess I'll just put one thing out. One of the questions was about additional service obligations for officers and warrant officers. That is something that is in the works. That might be going away soon in the future. So, I mean, there's so many benefits to pursuing credentialing or credentials or licenses. So, I mean, this is just a great opportunity, and I wish I had it when I was still in, but I will tell you, on the civilian side, moving from the Army to the civilian side, part of what got me the job was just having I am a Lean Six Sigma black belt and a green belt as well, and that contributed to my success being in the program in trying to make it a better program. So another question just came in about if there's any cap on how many credentials. So you have $4,000 every single year to use towards any type of credentials that you wish to pursue that's listed in Army Cool. So if you manage your money properly, or if you want to maximize the credentials, then you look for you can look for ways to, there's free training on Skillport for some of these credentials, and then you can ask for funding for the actual exam. But no, there's really no cap. It's just the amount of money that you have available. So some people, we've had a lot of soldiers ask for multiple credentials and training throughout the year. So, I mean, I know of one soldier who's already knocked out probably about 4 credentials so far, but he was very careful how he spent his 4,000, but now he's waiting for FY21 funds for the next 4,000. So, there's so many benefits, but again, thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, and we appreciate that, Sophia. We really appreciate you taking the time and spending the time with us here today. I just did have one question, and something you may have covered it earlier, and maybe I missed it because I listened a little bit slow. So the funding for the credentialing assistance, I understand there's tuition assistance, credentialing assistance, but so say I spent $2,000 in my credentialing assistance, does that take away what's available for me for tuition assistance?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So, and on the same token, actually, I'm glad you said that, because there are some soldiers that they have 16 semester hours per fiscal year for tuition assistance, right? Mm-hmm. And so some go to colleges that don't charge so much money per semester hour, so they're left with like $1,000, $1,500 at the end of the year after using all of their semester hours. They can still use the rest of that money towards credentialing assistance. Or some of the soldiers might have, they might be on a GPA hold, right? They might not be able to pursue tuition assistance anymore. So they can still use. That's not going to keep them from using credentialing assistance. So again, it's a great opportunity. You got to take advantage of it.
No, then that's huge. I mean, so many opportunities, and thank you for clarifying that. I thought I'd heard that, but I wasn't. I just asking for a friend. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So
I got you, sir. I did the same thing.
What you got, Sankoto?
Oh, I had done the same thing like you guys were talking about, sir. Just the like while I was at Waka, obviously, you know, like on top of the heavy mission, they would push that we structure our TA and the certifications together, because if you did get a break, if you did get a week where you could like knock out some training, it was very heavily pushed that you do that. That's how I ended up getting some funds left over from trainings where I was supposed to go to college, like Miss Sweeney's talking about, and they said that the initial cost was $350 an hour, but because I was military, it reduced it extremely, almost in half, which ended up giving me more of a cap back. And because of that, we were able to use those funds for commercial certifications, which is another weird one that I've had. So like Yamaha mixing board, which sounds really weird, but it's the company, you know, because we would mix their basically productions anytime the VIPs would talk, and we were the ones running it. So you had to learn those things. You had to learn lighting, like movie style lighting. You have to learn mixing 15 different microphones so that people in the audience can hear and there's no feedback. Plus it's being recorded or fed to whitehouse.gov. Like people were watching it through the internet. So you had to professionally get that cert done. And that certification alone at the time was worth like $1,500, but they did not, you know, per student, we were not charged that, to where my $300 that I had left over went through budgeting, and they were like, hey, once it was approved, anyone that was in my department with me that were in the same boat, they needed to know that. There was like a little class of like 7 of us, paid for by the Army, got certified, left, you know, was there for like an entire week, and bam, we have this certification that people who do like concerts and mayors use, and governors and congressmen and women use to do public events for like political rallies. And it's like Ms. Sweeney's talking about, that's weird ways that you can make yourself competitive with the civilian counterparts that you will be going against when you choose to walk away or retire from the military.
Here in about 10 years, you're all going to see Sankoto's name at the next at the Super Bowl. He's going to be the sound guy at the Super Bowl, so he's going to make sure that you're good. So no, that's great, Sankoto. Really appreciate that. I mean, that's good insight and good information